I and a very small team are here at New Paradigm College, and one of the things that we're doing is we're developing a college over time. And in the near term, that the courses and the events and the lectures and the workshops that we have are centered on really one thing: regeneration. Regenerating ecology, regenerating economy, regenerating community. So this is where our education is focused, and actually started by bringing the goats into New Paradigm College, and I thought, wow, this is really great, a new idea. And somebody told me that goats used to mow the landscape here like 40 years ago. So I didn't know that. So back to the future, I guess. So what is an ecological economy? It's an economy that can live with the ecology, and an ecology that is improved by the economy. It's a circle. And I'll touch on both of those words. Ecology, basically we learn from living systems. And I'm showing this picture here because if you get a chance, when you leave, there are a number of photographs of this building. This building was built in the 1920s. There's a photograph that I think was probably circa 1930s, maybe early 40s, but the cars in the parking lot are definitely very old. And I looked at the building in that photo and I said, oh my gosh, the spiders are already on the building. So these are descendants of the spiders that were first here in this landscape. But the reason I bring this up is that when this building is illuminated at night by our modern electric lights, the midges from the lake and around are attracted to the lights, and apparently they land on the stucco and eventually they drop off. They have a very short life cycle, they die, and they end up being a little around the edge of that stucco. And these guys, it's not a duck, I'm sorry, but there's a flock of peacocks, and I always wondered why they were here. Well, this is not a species that is native to Lake County, but this is a species that now has decided to live here. It has found a source of food. Someone's waste, which is the dead bugs all around the edge of the building, have become the food for the peacocks. Now all I have to do is find what I'm going to do with their waste. And I really do have an answer for that too, in that we have a lot of ecological design education programs that are starting here. We hauled 2 truckloads of manure last weekend to do a demonstration area. And we learn from living systems in ecology by observing over time. We learn a number of things. We learn patterns, we learn energy flow, we learn relationships, and we learn what choices species make. These peacocks decided this was their spot. And part of it is they like to look in the window and see themselves. So I don't know what that's about. But we adapt to a place and a place adapts to us. So in ecology, it really is, eco means home. So ecology is a study of home. It's cycles where waste equals food, and life creates conditions for life. And also in ecology, the problem is always an opportunity. So the problem we have all these bugs, the opportunity is for the birds that like them. The problem is the opportunity. We'll come back to that. Also we learned, and I was really glad that we had an opportunity to have Redbird come to one of our permaculture classes and share with us indigenous permaculture, what indigenous people have done for millennia on this landscape. And many, many years ago, they were stopped from doing this, but they used to burn the landscape because the landscape is crying out for that right now. So much so that it has taken us by force. So humans, I used to believe that if humans just went away, ecology would be just fine, and probably it would, but there's something called a keystone species, and in this area, the keystone species were actually the people. The people cared for the land. The people lit those fires and did many things on the landscape that allowed this landscape to thrive. So when we talk about ecology, we're talking about reciprocal relationships where the land gives and we give to the land. The lake gives and we give to the lake. It's a reciprocal relationship with positive feedback cycles and obviously negative feedback cycles as well. But everything is connected. So back to the problem is an opportunity. I think this map is probably one that we all are familiar with. They're more, this is actually from a 2018 map. I don't know if you remember Supervisor Jeff Smith. This is him wading through algae in the lake. So the feedback loop is saying that the model that we're using needs to change. Right? The model that we've been operating in this landscape, in this particular place, needs to change. Hello? So now what about economy? Again, eco is home. Economy is the management of home. And our economy, as we all know, and I actually love this phrase, people here are part of nature, not apart from it. That's the study that was done in the branding. Part of nature. So there isn't a one of us that isn't impacted by looking at the burned landscape around us. We all know when the pelicans are here. We all see that the grebes have had a good year or a bad year. We see these things because we're part of, unlike many other places, we are part of this place. And so how do we manage this place? With an economy that can serve the land and make it better, serve the lake and make it better, right? That's the idea of the circular economy. So when I was on the Board of Supervisors, I kind of had this model in the back of my head, and every now and then, Carol will remember this, I drew this very same picture, and I said, okay, if our local economy was a circle, money comes in, money goes out, and money circulates in the economy. And our goal is to increase the money coming in that's good money, not the money that's going to destroy capacities here, or not the money that's going to destroy beauty here, but good money, money that comes in from visitors, money that comes in from people who want to hike and see the top of Mount Konocti or see the pelicans. And we want to plug the leaks. We want to plug the leaks of money that leave this economy that don't serve us, that don't help us with our capacity. And we want to increase our ability in the economy to circulate money here. So that was the model that I kept in the back of my head as we went forward. And I encountered this year a fellow by the name of John Liu. He is a longtime journalist who documents the collapse for his whole career, 30-year career. He's documented the collapse of ecosystems around the world in many places like China and the Middle East, where in the Middle East there used to be swaths of forest, right? And there's now desert. So he's documented the collapse of ecosystems, and he's now got a new job, and that is documenting the recovery of ecosystems. How some places are turning that around. And one thing he said that was critical is that in order for that to happen, it can't just be knowledge from the outside. It has to be the community itself that takes it on and does it. Because the community knows the place. You can't bring in experts and hire outside firms to fix your forests that might turn into desert, right? You have to have a will. And he said it also can't be done with volunteers, which is pretty much what's been happening around the world. So he formed an organization called EcosystemRestorationCamps.org, and he presents to departments of defense around the world and major Fortune 500 companies who want to do something about climate. And one of the things that we have discovered is that the economy, job growth, and everything else follows investment. But let me just show you this picture. There's a place, I believe that's in China. And this is what they've been working on, bringing this back. There are techniques that can bring land back faster and help accelerate natural processes that allow the land to recover quicker. And so those are the ecosystem-based approaches that we're bringing teachers in to teach. And we have found, and this is probably the key learning and why Michelle wanted me to give this presentation, is that we found that young people absolutely want to do this work. Some of them don't want to go to college. They want to do this work so badly. Some of them want their college to be this work. So they want to bring Earth back to life. They don't want the picture on the left there. They want to bring life back, and they want to serve life. And what a great message, for Lake County. We have the opportunity here. The problem is the opportunity. So the goal would be to build build an economy where everything supports everything else over the long term. This is not a short-term project. This is a long-term project. We're skill building, we're taking on projects, and some of the projects might seem like a drop in the bucket. They might seem very small. But keep in mind that nature can accelerate processes. So if we're working with nature as opposed to against nature, we can begin to have nature help us out and accelerate some of the processes. Our investments we're seeing corporations and we're seeing major granting agencies that want to invest in these restorative functions. And one of the challenges we have in Lake County, and most people will tell you this, is we don't have the workforce here that's ready for the kind of money that might want to come in and do that. And we don't have the capacities here yet necessarily to handle the kinds of projects that might come about. So part of our goal at New Paradigm College is to really understand that and to begin to help our community learn what we need to learn and develop the skills we need to develop, but also to attract, and we already have actually attracted some young people from outside the area who want to do this kind of work with us. So over the long term, the three categories that we're really focused on and that create economy: ecosystem restoration, both forest and wetland health, because there are some of these ecosystems that haven't burned and don't need restoration, but they do need to be healthy, and a lot of material needs to come out of them in order for them to be healthy. We need to basically mimic fire, if not light fires, if they could be controlled burns, but forest and wetland health. And then we are ground zero for climate impacts, and climate impact mitigation looks a lot like rebuilding houses, figuring out how we prevent some of the things that can be caused by climate, with flooding, et cetera. So where is the money in this kind of economy? Well, some of the money comes from those who are interested. Whether you are really into climate work or not, it doesn't really matter. Ecosystem restoration is a great idea anyway. So the top solutions to climate, the top solutions to justice issues around the world, the top solutions to economic issues are often the same: ecosystem restoration, forest and wetland health. So again, rebuilding after loss. So back to the circular forest economy. So forest grants and investment are available now. We're beginning to see these a coalition form in Lake County. We're part of it too, and we're looking at forest health grants. We just received a grant, of all places, from Pacific Gas and Electric Company. I said that really fast. For ecosystem restoration education. And we're developing a curriculum of ecosystem restoration education with that will go all the way to work in the chainsaws, because you need to know how to mimic fire in the landscape and improve the landscape without destroying the things that are going to give it health. And we need to educate students in eco-literacy so they know what they're looking at, so they know what a healthy ecosystem is and how to keep it a healthy ecosystem. We also have, Jim Steele is beginning to look, and we don't have a program in this regard yet, but we've been told by workforce development that there are massive numbers of jobs for heavy equipment operators who also have ecosystem sensitivity, and they can't find people with both skills. So we may be able to tack on ecosystem sensitivity training, or at least maybe it'll be a second job for people who are involved in heavy equipment operation. And that training for heavy equipment operation is now happening up at Shasta College. And so our hope is that we begin to use some of our eco-literacy curriculum and tack on to that, and also help people get that certification. But just real quickly, I want to point out that to keep the forest, thank you. Yeah, to keep the forest healthy, we need to do something with the waste that's generated from the work that comes from all the brush and everything that comes out of the forest. And products from that are not going to be manufactured in China. They're not going to be manufactured anywhere very far away. So if there are really good products that could use that waste, that's a source of economic health for us. And there are a number of products that I need to go relatively quickly to tell you about them, but forest biomass is a big problem in California, and so there's been a lot of research on what to do with forest biomass. And one example of forest biomass that was brought to my attention, and I'm not an expert in this technology, but there's something called cross-laminated timber that takes that really small diameter wood and makes it into a fire-resistant material that can literally replace concrete in some buildings. And there's a big market for it, and there's a particular market for it right here in California. So that's one of the studies that we're applying for a grant, and hopefully we'll be able to do that study right here in Lake County. And then forest products jobs are growing, logging jobs are dropping, but forest products wood manufacture jobs are growing. So that's a possibility for us. Finally, ecosystem restoration education. We are spending most of our energy in the next couple of years around this. And we have a number of students that have already begun taking the classes. And my final point is, when we restore ecosystems to health, something is happening to the human spirit as well. As we restore wetlands and as we restore forests, we are healing ourselves. And that we're seeing it time and again as students do the work. So thank you.